For over 2,000 years, a silent army of thousands stood guard beneath the earth. It was the final command of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, a ruthless unifier who forged a nation through fire and blood. Driven by an obsession with immortality, he ordered the construction of a vast clay army, a life-size testament to his power, to protect his tomb. This is the incredible story of the Terracotta Army, a tale of a tyrant's ambition, a discovery that rewrote history, and a secret that still remains locked away beneath the ground. Before it was a unified empire, China was a land of chaos and blood. For nearly 2 centuries, a period known as the Warring States, 7 rival kingdoms vied for absolute supremacy, locked in a brutal, unending conflict. It was a time of immense social and intellectual change, but also of ceaseless violence and instability. Yet from this crucible of war, a new force would emerge, not just to conquer the others, but to obliterate the old order entirely and forge a single powerful nation. That force was the state of Qin, and its ruthless ambition was embodied in one man, its young and merciless king, who would later be known as Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Born in 259 BC, the future emperor's early life was shrouded in political intrigue and danger. He ascended to the throne of Qin at the age of 13, a young man who inherited a state built on military discipline and a radical philosophy known as legalism, which held that strict laws and harsh punishments were the only way to maintain order. Under his rule and the guidance of brilliant but equally ruthless strategists, the state of Qin began a campaign of conquest of a scale never before seen. With an army renowned for its speed, discipline, and a newly developed technology of crossbows and iron weaponry, Qin systematically defeated its rivals one by one. The campaign was methodical and brutal. States were annexed, cities were razed, and populations were either absorbed or enslaved. In 221 BC, after years of relentless warfare, the last of the rival kingdoms fell. For the first time in its history, China was a single unified entity, and the man who had achieved this impossible feat was not content to simply be a king. He declared himself Qin Shi Huang, a title meaning first emperor, a name that evoked not a mere monarch, but a divine, almost mythic ruler who had founded a new epoch. He saw himself as a successor to the legendary gods of old, a being whose rule was destined to last for 10,000 generations. The reign of the first emperor was an astonishing mix of monumental achievement and terrifying tyranny. He was a builder and a destroyer on an epic scale. To consolidate his power and erase the memory of the old kingdoms, he implemented a series of radical, sweeping reforms. He standardized everything: the currency, the system of weights and measures, the writing system, and even the width of cart axles to ensure his new road network could be used by all. He was a master of logistics and engineering, a man who saw the entire nation as a single, massive project under his complete control. To protect his new empire from northern invaders, he began a project of unprecedented scale: the linkage of various existing walls into a single, continuous fortification, a project that would one day become known as the Great Wall of China. But this legacy of unification and standardization came at a terrible price. Qin Shi Huang was a tyrant who tolerated no dissent. His infamous burning of the books and burying of the scholars was a brutal act of intellectual censorship, where books that did not conform to his ideology were burned, and hundreds of scholars were executed. This was a man who believed in absolute obedience, and he would stop at nothing to eliminate any potential threat to his singular vision. Yet, despite all his power, there was one enemy Qin Shi Huang could not defeat: death. This fear of his own mortality became his greatest obsession. He was consumed by the quest for eternal life, sending expeditions of thousands of men and women to search for the mythical islands of the immortals in the eastern seas. He spent his final years seeking magical elixirs, often drinking potions made of mercury, a practice that likely hastened the very death he so desperately tried to avoid. His ultimate expression of this obsession was the project he began almost immediately after taking the throne: the construction of his own secret tomb complex. This was no ordinary burial site. It was to be a massive subterranean city, a mirror image of his empire, designed for him to rule in the afterlife. Thousands of laborers, artisans, and engineers toiled in secrecy for decades to build this masterpiece of megalomania. And at its heart, guarding the emperor for eternity, was a vast clay army, the Terracotta Army, each soldier, horse, and chariot a testament to the first emperor's unyielding will to maintain his power even after his last breath. This was a secret meant to be buried forever, a 2,000-year-old mystery that was only a tiny part of a much larger, forbidden palace of the dead. Legends spoke of rivers of mercury, booby traps, and hidden archer mechanisms that still lay ready to kill any who dared to disturb his eternal rest. The stage was set not just for a burial, but for an archaeological mystery that would captivate the world 2 millennia later. For over 2 millennia, the silent army lay dormant, a vast and elaborate secret buried beneath the fields of Lintong. The dynasty of Qin Shi Huang had collapsed just 4 years after his death, and the memory of the first emperor's magnificent tomb faded into legend, becoming little more than a whisper of a colossal burial mound. Time and the relentless accumulation of earth had sealed the tomb complex away, hiding its stunning secrets from the world. No one, not even the most learned historian, could have guessed at the scale and artistic grandeur that lay sleeping just a few feet beneath their feet. The secret was finally, and quite by accident, brought to light on a hot, drought-stricken day in March 1974. A group of farmers from the village of Xiang, led by young Jifa, were desperate. Their wells were dry, and their crops were failing. In a parched field a little over a mile east of the first emperor's burial mound, they began digging a new well, hoping to strike water. What they struck instead was a hard red earth, unlike anything they had ever seen. As they dug deeper, their shovels hit something solid and strange. It was a fragment of terracotta, followed by more pieces of baked clay, bronze arrowheads, and paving bricks. To the uneducated farmers, the objects were of little value. Some thought they were old pottery shards. Others feared they had disturbed an ancient burial site and were cursed. The fragments were cast aside, some even used as fill for a broken wall. Word of the strange discovery, however, eventually reached the ears of a local water conservancy official, who in turn alerted a regional archaeologist. Skepticism was high. The area was known for ancient graves, but nothing of significance. When the archaeologists arrived, they began to carefully examine the fragments. Their initial skepticism quickly turned to stunned realization. They had not found just a few pieces of pottery, but fragments of a massive life-sized sculpture. The arrows and weapons were a clear sign of a military presence. They had stumbled upon something of monumental importance. The initial excavation began, and as the archaeologists carefully removed the earth, the full, breathtaking scale of the discovery began to emerge. They had uncovered a massive, rectangular underground vault, which would later be named Pit 1. As the centuries of compacted soil were cleared, an unbelievable sight was revealed. A long, straight line of full-sized terracotta soldiers, standing in perfect battle formation. The moment the first complete figure was brought to the surface, it was clear that this was not just a collection of statues. It was a complete, ready-for-war army, a silent legion of warriors guarding their emperor. What truly captivated the world, however, was not just the sheer number of the figures estimated at over 8,000 soldiers and horses, but their astonishing individuality and attention to detail. Every single soldier was a unique work of art. Their faces were all different, with distinct features, expressions, and ages, from stoic generals to young, determined foot soldiers. Their hairstyles varied according to their rank, from coiled topknots to elaborate headdresses. Their armor was so intricately detailed that historians could distinguish different military units and ranks, from the simple tunics of the archers to the complex, layered plates of the generals. The craftsmanship was so advanced that it was once believed that the figures were originally painted in vibrant colors, a detail that was later confirmed by careful analysis of the faded traces of pigments. The initial discovery of Pit 1 was followed by the uncovering of 2 more pits. Pit 2 contained a mix of military units, including cavalry and kneeling archers, a testament to the tactical genius of the first emperor's army. Pit 3 was a smaller, more intimate find, believed to be the command headquarters of the army, with high-ranking officers and a magnificent chariot. The combined discovery painted a vivid and comprehensive picture of the first emperor's army in all its glory and terrifying might. The revelation of the Terracotta Army sent a shockwave around the globe. It was instantly hailed as one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. This buried masterpiece not only provided an astonishing window into the military might and artistic skill of the Qin dynasty, but also forced historians to re-evaluate the scale of Qin Shi Huang's ambition. The Terracotta Army quickly became a UNESCO World Heritage Site and an enduring symbol of China's ancient past, proving that the first emperor's desire for an eternal legacy had, in a way he could never have imagined, come to pass. The discovery of the Terracotta Army was a monumental triumph, a breathtaking glimpse into the military might and artistic genius of China's first emperor. Yet, as the world marveled at the clay warriors, historians and archaeologists knew they had only uncovered a fraction of the story. The army, for all its splendor, was merely a peripheral part of a much grander and far more dangerous secret. For over 2,000 years, Qin Shi Huang's true resting place, his central burial mound, has remained sealed and untouched, a forbidden city of the dead that holds the final, terrifying answers to his quest for immortality. The only window we have into this subterranean world comes from the ancient Chinese historian Sima Qian, who lived a century after the first emperor's death. In his monumental work, The Records of the Grand Historian Sima Qian provides a detailed and almost mythical description of the tomb's interior. He writes of a lavish subterranean palace, a meticulously crafted replica of Qin Shi Huang's entire kingdom. The ceiling was said to be a celestial map, studded with pearls and jewels representing the stars and constellations. Below, a landscape of China was recreated in miniature, with mountains and valleys, and with the major rivers and seas represented by flowing mercury, channeled by a mechanical system. He also detailed a fearsome security system, automated crossbows and traps, set to fire at any intruder who dared to enter the tomb, designed to guard the emperor for eternity. For centuries, these accounts were considered to be the stuff of legend, the fantastical imaginings of an ancient historian. But modern science has provided chilling new evidence that suggests Sima Qian's words may have been startlingly accurate. Remote sensing and soil analysis conducted around the emperor's massive burial mound have revealed an astonishing truth. The soil in the central tomb area has exceptionally high concentrations of mercury. This finding lends incredible credence to Sima Qian's description of a river of mercury, and it confirms the presence of a vast, sealed chamber beneath the mound. The emperor's obsessive quest for immortality, a journey that led him to drink mercury elixirs in life, seems to have been continued in death, with an entire river of the toxic metal flowing through his eternal kingdom. Despite this compelling evidence, and the world's burning curiosity, a deliberate and firm decision has been made to leave the main tomb completely unexcavated. This choice, made by the Chinese government, is a complex one, rooted in a combination of ethical, historical, and practical concerns. The primary fear is preservation. The Terracotta Army, when first discovered, was still vibrant with color, its paint and lacquer perfectly preserved by the centuries of burial. Yet, within a matter of days and weeks of exposure to air, the colors faded and peeled away, a heartbreaking loss that could not be reversed. Archaeologists fear that the delicate artifacts within the emperor's central tomb, including organic materials, textiles, and invaluable scrolls, would suffer a similar irreversible fate with modern technology not yet advanced enough to preserve them. Furthermore, there is a profound sense of respect for the deceased. The tomb is not just an archaeological site. It is the final resting place of a historical figure of immense importance to the Chinese people. The decision to not disturb the emperor's eternal sleep reflects a deep cultural reverence for ancestors, and a belief that some mysteries are best left undisturbed until we are fully equipped to understand them without causing damage. The very real danger of mercury poisoning from opening a chamber with a massive amount of the toxic metal also plays a role in the decision, making the tomb a literal death trap, just as Sima Qian described. The Terracotta Army remains one of the most stunning masterpieces of ancient art and archaeology, a discovery that captured the imagination of the world and stands as a testament to the might of the first emperor. But its ultimate legacy lies not in what it has revealed, but in what it continues to conceal. The unexcavated tomb of Qin Shi Huang, with its legendary rivers of mercury and its booby-trapped passages, is a powerful reminder that history's greatest secrets often remain buried. It is a story still being told, a monument not just to a tyrant's ambition, but to the enduring, unsolved mysteries that continue to haunt the modern world.